into like all the reasons about it. I mean, maybe I will. I don't know. How much do you guys want to hear, really? It seems like they were a manufactured boy band, kind of plucked out of obscurity, but groomed. And that they didn't actually like write or even record most of their own music. That it was that they learned the songs to sing and played enough of some songs to tour for a period of time and then stopped touring, which there's no musician that stops touring at the height of their careers. That's especially financially. It's just ridiculous. And along the way, and I do believe this part, although it's, you know, this is where the stories get far-fetched, but honestly, the way they do things is just so absurd, so over the top, and they do mock us for real. And there's also like a little bit of creative expression that comes through the players, the actors in this, which I think is why, you know, like John Lennon's like kind of like, you know, fuck it attitude, and just his like, you know, he could say, you know, just these sardonic things, but they all have really double meaning when you look back on it. And, you know, it's kind of a classic like deal with the devil sort of thing. And when you look at music too, just how many weird deaths there are, what the 60s really ushered in of the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, which, although, you know, I am a fan of, I'm also kind of like a traditionalist. Like, even though I worked in burlesque and stuff, like I never did the drugs, you know, I still went to yoga, like I still had a relationship with God, like, you know, and I was the anomaly, but, you know, and I only could get to a certain point, right? You only get to a certain level in their game. So, and then there's other stuff about the fact that, and also, if this seems far-fetched, I just want you guys to really, like the AI stuff that they're unleashing on us, it's all just like prepping us to prepare for more orchestrated illusion. And, you know, anything that they can do in Hollywood or that you can do on your computer, it's like they've been using those tools for a very, very long time by the time we get to them. You know, this is social engineering and mind control, which, if you think they're not up to, it's just, I don't know what to say to you. Like, it's just, yeah. Every field. It's every field. And so when you really like take that in, and I was like, wow, them too. I really did take the story of their origin at face value. Even I was reading books about it and never really questioned like how much material they were putting out. I just thought they were brilliant and that they had this beautiful thing. But sometimes that's what it is, I think, when you're working for the light, but not when you're working for the dark. I think it happens other ways. And that did happen with them. And even this guy says Bob Dylan. I mean, basically anyone who gets to a certain level, like, you can't work around the controllers because they control everything. And so even for myself, and I guess this is why I'm sharing, and why I'm getting over my own discomfort about sharing, to share. because I know what it's taken for me to process and integrate these things. And so if you're just taking it in as information just through your mind, and you can be like, you can make some like critical like separation and compartmentalize like, oh yeah, okay, well that there's like that might be true. But you need to take this into your full body and feel it. First of all, feel for its truth inside of you, in your intuition, in your third chakra, and make your own judgment about it. But you can't just keep it in your mind. This is not just purely a mental assault. Like, it's just an assault on everything. It's actually a spiritual war for our souls. And our participation in any part of their system is consent and is going along with the program. So, and what it's taken for me to untangle from even just the things that I mentioned, Amazon, Netflix, Facebook, Instagram, even Substack now, Spotify. Each time it's been emotional. I've had to grieve, and I go through a period of feeling like I lost something, like that I feel more disconnected, or I feel like I was cut off from some resources, or, you know, it's a loss. And I have to move that through my body. It's emotional. Emotions are an energy. Energy is what it's all about. So you have to move this energy through you. And that happens in lots of ways. You know, it's not just a mental exercise. It's not like, I mean, I actively sit down and write my morning pages and try to work through this shit and my feelings about stuff and put it somewhere. But then it's like, it's also physically moving through my body. Like, I was sick, you know, and then when this happened, right before the retrograde, I was flattened. Like, I was heartbroken. Like, I was like, this Venus retrograde will forever be when the Beatles were taken away from me. And I was like, wow, there's like nothing of this world really to preserve. And in a lot of ways, that's very freeing. You know, we can take the bad stuff and compost it into something good, and, you know, I'll share yeah, we grew up on that, and like, you know, have all the memories, but like, it should free us ultimately to just be like, you know, what does a really successful rock and roll band that's not demonic and doesn't require like complete and total rabid idol worship, like, because that side of fame is also something that we assume is just how it works, and it's not. That was also manufactured and designed as a mind control project that went really well for them. Like, it worked. That was like, good job, guys. Really. Like, the Beatles were a very successful thought control experiment. Because they know how to manipulate the culture, and they know how important it is. But as an artist who protects the culture, because the culture is the soil our consciousness grows in. This is not a small thing. I say this all the time. This is literally the soil that we plant, the little inspirations, the little dreams. And from that little garden of dreams, we start growing our reality. So it's very important that that soil isn't infiltrated. We know how hard it is for anything to be organic now, because they're poisoning us through the air, through the land, through the sea, through everything. They're throwing everything at it. And no one's resisting. No one's getting off more platform. I mean, I feel very alone in getting off these platforms. Like, I haven't found the others yet. And, you know, even most of my friends are still of the opinion of like, yeah, well, it's just not practical. I'm like, okay, well, being mind controlled by Nazis is also not really practical either, but to each their own, you guys. I mean, I'm talking about how hard it is to get off these things. I'm talking about like the physical and emotional symptoms that I have. I'm talking about the mind fuckery and how it has to be worked through your body. It has to be really grounded into some sort of experience. You have to process and integrate the information every time. And that takes a lot of time. So it's like and each of these things, I'm just like, this needs to be happening faster. We need to be making more changes. And no, I'm not like advocating a big resistance revolution, because there's no fighting back. Like this, my take on my strategy is just, I guess, being hard to find through their channels. It's like when a toddler, you know, when a toddler doesn't want to be held and you're trying to hold them and they're kind of like, they're big and heavy, but then they just do this thing with their arms and like there's nothing to hold on to. Like that's the strategy. That's the strategy. And then remaking the culture how we actually want it without all the fucking poisons and toxins and crap in it. And so, you know, I think a lot of people just don't want to think about it because they're like, oh my God, that means the banking system's going to collapse and we're going to have poverty and depression and war and blah, blah, blah. It's like, this is where it's just like, you guys use your imagination. When you focus your energy, because everything is energy and because we are creating this together, when you spend any of your energy like getting emotionally wound up about any of their stories that come through the media, because all of the media is fake. Everything that they show us is fake. When you spend any time getting all worked up about those things, they're winning. You're just playing their game. If you got to take your power back, you got to manage your own emotions and not have an emotional charge about it, which means working through your feelings about it so you can get to a level place where you're not reactive. This is why you got to process each one of these like little disappointments. It's not just like, okay, I'm pulling the plug. It's like, okay, I'm just going to quit smoking and not worry about like why I was smoking in the first place, or like control any of the other conditions around which I always smoked. It's like, come on. This is the maturity, okay? We trade our naivete and our innocence for maturity. And that is the point of being here. That's the growth. So I don't know what I'm doing with this channel. You know, I think we have YouTube for a time. I know that they're watching everything, or the AI is, and learning from that. Know what's real. You got to demand it. You got to go searching for it. You got to create it. You got to preserve it. You got to protect it. And you have to be it also. Because I'm not interested in fighting their wars or any of their battles or having a big showdown about it. I'm interested in turning, pivoting, working on puppets, telling stories that are more fun, that help more people, and making great art, music, everything. Like, I just want to get back to doing what I do. Told you about the big hoax. I mean, it's also very sad because it is very dark because they're ruthless. You know, they have no qualms about killing off any of their players, you know, especially if they're not cooperating. We've seen this, and in all likelihood, that's why John is probably killed. You know, maybe it was mentioned, you know, that maybe he was going to reveal some of this, but that the actor playing Paul had a bunch of surgeries is not him. It's one of the reasons they stopped touring, was because there's a big height difference between him and other differences, like mostly that he's right-handed, and more, he actually was a musician and probably a ghostwriter for the Beatles early on, and then when Paul wasn't cooperating the right way, got rid of him through a car accident in 1966, replaced him. And if you think that's impossible, you guys just fucking wake up. Anything that they can do in Hollywood, they did first through some sort of crazy social engineering project. So just, you guys, please. And it's funny, you know, it's like I'm at the point now, I got to the other side of my grief, which took all weekend. I was just depressed. But I watched everything I could, looking for holes. I was really like looking just for one thing that would make me be like, ah, this is bullshit. And I didn't find it. Instead, I was like, oh, fuck. Even them. I guess the last thing I'll say, two things. Part of this was brought about by the next episode that I'm trying to get back to editing, because I literally, that headache I had last week, I couldn't do anything. But I have footage that I want to edit of the architectural salvage people that came and dug up some stuff here. And while they were here, they were dating different parts of the house, and it was a much different story than I had gleaned through mostly through the neighborhood, the myth of the neighborhood and what these houses were for and things. And found out that none of that was true. The house is not Captain's house. It was not a historical house. It was like, it's a house with a cap that was put on it. It's like the other two-story wood houses that were here, but it at one point became a brick house. You know, it was like, it, you know, and it's not as old as I thought, and all these things. And so it got me questioning if the history is all fake. And it's like, I was like, well, what am I preserving? What do I think I'm preserving? What do I think I'm holding on to? I was like, because none of the whole premise that I thought was this house was not true. And it was like, I was like, oh shit, like that applies to like everything. What is worth preserving from the lie that we've all been living and have been very distracted? Like, we've been numb and dumb, and you guys, we've been taking that medicine. And if you think you can be on social media and not be like, that somehow you're above it and it's not affecting you and you have some objective distance, you are wrong, my friend. That's just a fact. So, I mean, I really encourage everyone to make these changes and to take the time to process and integrate each one of them so that you can really ground something better. But you have to release the old, okay? And this example was given to me by someone else, but it's like this, and our bodies are like this, everything's like this, okay? So well, here's a little water, but I'm gonna dump my old coffee in this cup, okay? This is gonna symbolize the bad shit that's like in us, okay? But in order for the good shit to come in, this bad shit, oh shit, it's not even enough. I didn't set up to do a visual demonstration, but the bad shit's got to go somewhere, right? So it's got to go up and out. See that? And it gets like more diluted and stuff as it gets to the top, but really, like, we want this to be clear water. So to do that, you got to push all this up and out. It's got to, it's not just like you magically replace this, suddenly it becomes clean water. It's not like that. It's like you have to move it through you like this. And then it physically pushes out of you, usually in like a lot of like snot and stuff like that. It's gross. But it's physical and symbolic. So if you want to check out the guy who's, I think's done the most research on this, it's the Paul is Dead channel. And also there's a good Higher Side Chats that the guy gets into. You know, the more you understand about how the whole structure works, because it is like Masonic, it is a cult, it is it's not just devil worship, it's Luciferian, it's, you know, different things, but and it's secret societies and bloodlines and all the club that you're not a part of, as the George Carlin quote goes. So yeah, check it out. I feel like, you know, you'll have your own crippling disappointment in this revelation process. Maybe it won't be the Beatles that affect you like that, but that was the one that got me, man. And I've been looking into this stuff for a long time. None of the health stuff really got me as good. And I even took one of their dumb vaccines, and I'm still healing from it. And I didn't take the COVID. I took a flu vaccine right before that, which I think actually was the COVID vaccine that they rolled out later. I think it was kind of a test, and it did actually sterilize me and send me into menopause. So, you know, but because even that didn't get me. Like, I was still like, all right, you fuckers, well, I know how to work on my health, and so I've been doing all these things, and I've been working on it for years. Still taking the herbs, still doing all this stuff. So, you know, it's always a process, but I believe in my ability to heal myself. So, you know, nothing has gotten me, I think, as good as the Beatles thing. So it was something I really had to grieve, and it was very hard. It was very painful, and it was very much about this Venus retrograde. But ultimately, I know that I can't build on a bullshit foundation anymore. And the more truth I have, the more I can make better choices about where I put my energy, my focus, and my attention. So I hope this helps you. You know, it'd be great if you want me to keep doing these. You guys got to interact some more. You need to like share the videos or leave a comment, or even just like it or something, because I don't see much point in doing it. Like, there's part of me that's just processing my own things, you know, here and sharing them, hoping it helps someone, but it's just not totally worth it, you know. And I keep like leaving these things, so I'm like, I don't know if I'm staying here, y'all. Needs to be a reason for me to stay. So I don't know, we'll see how much longer. Anyway, yeah, I hope this helps somebody. I'll be back soon.